Hey there, it's Tuesday afternoon and I released a video on my new lumber rack this morning on my main channel. I originally filmed that video to put on this channel, and in my thinking there, I actually filmed a lot more of the description of it, including the doors, because I had a couple of questions from people about the doors. These doors, like, they're just panels, half-inch plywood with a strip all the way around the perimeter from 3/4 inch plywood that I cut into strips that are 1.25 inches. And what they do is they keep it flat. And what this thing rolls on are just wheels on the bottom, just straight casters that I had. Originally I was going to make wooden casters and get all fancy, but I found these and I said, they'll do. Put those on and be done with it. And, you know, it's just a straight track up on top for the thing, just to guide the doors back and forth. And like I said, originally, my original idea, and I'll put a drawing of that on the screen here, was to have the track go the full length of the travel of these doors to keep them upright. But this one over here doesn't need it because it's still caught on the track when it's mostly open, or is as open as it needs to be. Also, the internal length of this thing is a little bit more than 10 feet, 123 inches, I think. So that gives me space to put 10-foot boards. The depth is 14 inches, but I think that a 12-inch board would fit in here because you got 14 minus the thickness of the standard, which is 1 5/8 or something. And so that's more than 12 inches you'll have left, right? But most of the stuff that I buy is less than 12 inches, so never a concern. Lumber rack over here. Behind that, in that corner, is my scrap wood cabinet. Another excellent idea. This is that's like, okay, when I built this, I wasn't quite sold on it. Okay, I wanted maple plywood for it. And really, if I really, really wanted to get that maple plywood, I could have went to that extra effort and got it. But then I wasn't sold on it completely. So I used this plywood instead. And now I've decided that I'm going to paint that. So it's kind of immaterial. If I had to put the maple plywood there, maybe then I would have liked it enough to keep it natural. But as it is, it's too, I don't know, it shows up too yellow on the camera, and I don't like that. And it's a little bit too dark, too closed in. I think the white would, open things up. Anyway, so the scrap wood closet down there, there's still a bit of a mess here because I still have a lot of sheets of plywood that I need to cut into pieces or strips, mostly for the ceiling in the basement, for that room I'm setting up down there, for listening to music and watching movies and so on. And my sheet storage area is going to be limited to just that sliver there. I'm going to get rid of that part up there for the smaller pieces and try to come up with some other solution, possibly over here where that door bypasses that area. I can build some kind of a standing type storage solution for those smaller pieces of plywood, because one of the problems with that, and everybody knows about it that's done it before, it's difficult to sort through because then you got to try to remove so much before you can get out the pieces that are on the bottom. Whereas if it's standing up vertical, and then it's easy to pull something out. I'm going to break in here and let you know that now is a really good time to join the Makers Mob. Not only did my 6-video tutorial on building my new workbench, plus the plans, just go live inside the Makers Mob, for a limited time you can sign up for 75% off. Just click the link in the description, it'll take you right there, and you'll get immediate access to all of my projects, plus YouTube's top makers, like Neil Paskin, John Peters, The Samurai Carpenter, Jimmy DeResta, and Frank Howarth. But like I said, this is a limited time offer, so act fast. I talked about a CNC before in another video. That's on its way. I should have that in a few days, I guess. Maybe next week. I'm thinking that has to go there, right there where those sheets of plywood are now. So that area has to be cleared, right? The clamps that are on the wall over there now will come up here onto the wall in that area where the drill press cabinet is. We'll move up there and I'll show you that again. But they're going up there along with the clamps that are already up there. So that'll be a clamp storage area. Again, I'm limited to how deep I can go on that wall because that door has to bypass everything, which is not a problem because I don't have anything planned to go there that's going to be deep. All right. So this down here, I spent a full day out here reorganizing the shop before I built this. And a big part of that was taking the stuff that's out of that cabinet that used to be there, that double-sided cabinet, which is no longer there because I took it apart. If you're not familiar with that, I made a double-sided cabinet. The idea was it'd be show on the front. You put the neat stuff there. On the back was just general storage or junk. It was on wheels, so it could be going like up against the wall, and you pull it out, like kind of hinge it out almost to get out what's in the back, which you really wouldn't need to be doing very often. But it was kind of a failure for this workshop, mainly because, okay, the size of the workshop, also the horizontal surface on the top was always collecting more junk. So it would be almost impossible to roll it, to open it up, because you'd knock some of that stuff off. Right? Any horizontal surface that you can't keep clear is a bad idea in a workshop. I did a big cleanup out here, not a cleanup per se, but a reorganization. I took all the stuff that was in that cabinet. I put the majority of it into these storage cabinets that I got down here and really paid attention to getting it organized so I know where everything is. Immediately after I built these, I just started putting stuff in that was basically up in the cabinets that used to be up above the miter saw station, which are not there anymore. If you're a long-time viewer, you'll know what I'm talking about. There were cabinets up there. There was paint and stuff. I put it wherever, I just grabbed it and I stuffed it in. But a couple days ago, reorganized all the painting stuff that I keep into this cabinet over here. It's almost completely full. There's no more space. And over here, these are all there's some lathe stuff right here, because the lathe is right here, which I rarely use, but it's handy to have. Motors and stuff that were in that cabinet over there, right? So these are motors that I'm going to be using at some point in the future, and I want to have them on hand. And I don't want to trudge through 3 feet of snow to get out to my shed to get them. If I plan on, if the urge seizes me in the middle of winter to do this. So they're right here, and it's a good use of this space, right? Because these kind of cabinets are only so useful. Your best space in any workshop is well-organized drawers. This is what I've come to realize. Before you build anything with drawers, you got to know exactly what's going in there. So you can build the drawers to fit the contents instead of building the drawers and then finding stuff to throw in there. That's how you that's how you wind up with a big mess. You need to know what's going in there. It's like those drawers down there. I knew almost exactly what was going into, it's like 80% of those drawers, and it's in there, and it's well organized. And I can walk over there, and I can grab what I need and take it out, close the drawer up, and the next time I'll know exactly where it is because it's there. And there's not a bunch of crap piled on top of it. So drawers are where it's at. I didn't do a whole lot up here yet, but changes are coming here. In particular, the bandsaw, I'm going to be building a new one, a 12-inch one, and sometime over the summer I want to get started on it, and it will replace that one. I like this bandsaw, but it's too big for this shop. It takes up too much space. Also, the table that's on it is too low. I built it originally with the idea that I would be using that for resawing stuff, and I would build another bandsaw or buy another smaller bandsaw that I could have the table up higher. And I in fact did that, but the bandsaw that I bought was a pile of crap. I tried to improve it, but that's a whole other story. We don't have to get into that. Anyway, the one that I'm going to build is smaller. It's a 12-inch one. That's all I'm going to need because I barely use this one now. So I really can't justify the amount of space that it takes up. This is the new location for the drill press. I know you can't see much of it because the stuff is in the way here. But this is going to go over maybe 12 inches this way because I want to build a kind of a bench in that corner that's about, I don't know, 18 to 22 inches deep. And another horizontal surface, I know, but the primary thing that'll be going on that bench is this toolbox, which in hindsight, I really don't have a use for in my workshop, mainly because I've got this large toolbox underneath my workbench that has almost everything that I need in it. So I'm just wondering what I'm going to be putting in this toolbox. I'm sure I'll figure something out as I go along, but I need a place to put it in the meantime, and that'll be it. Also underneath that will be the drawers that used to be in the bottom of that double-sided cabinet I was talking about that I took apart. Oh, I should also say that the front, the show side of it, I cut that part off, which is about, I don't know, 8 inches deep, 10 inches deep. And I brought that down to my basement to put on the wall in my electronics room down there. So the drawers are over here that I'm talking about. They're the ones that are fairly deep, but they have this sideways sliding drawer on top. Hang on, I'll just get one. Here it is here. This thing, which is a good idea, okay, because it's got a nice shallow drawer on the top where you can put stuff that you're going to use all the time. You just open the drawer and it's right there. But if you want to get the stuff on the bottom, you pull the drawer all the way out and it'll slide sideways. And that's a lot deeper, okay? So I like this idea, and these slides are actually working pretty good. These ones are. The ones that were on these drawers are the old style full extension drawer slides that I came up with before, the new ones. But in the new cabinet that I build, I'm going to use the proper ball bearing slides for the big drawer, because I still have a bunch of those. Another thing that's going to go on that bench is my gear connected vise, which was on my old bench, which I replaced with the new bench. And I want that bench to be higher. This top of this thing is 36 inches, which is good height for a workbench. But I want that to be 40, 41, maybe 42. So this vise will be up higher, at a more comfortable working height. If you want to, really, say you're cutting out a small part with a coping saw, and you're standing up to do it, then you can do it in this vise over there. I said earlier about knowing what you're going to be putting in the drawers before you build the drawers. The exception is these drawers right here because they're already built, and I want to recycle the work that I put into it. I'm not too concerned about the material because that was fairly cheap. And if I really wanted to, I could salvage the material. But the time I put into it is more important. And I can reuse those there. They'll be perfect for there. And they have enough storage with that double decker thing happening to be of use. So I can actually find things. But that's the thing. After doing all this other work, I'm left with not very much that's sitting around that has to be organized. My biggest challenge right now is this thing right here. This is my drill press cabinet. It's still on this wall because the door bypasses it, no problem, because it's not that deep. And I talked about this before. Instead of taking this off the wall and putting it over here, I want to build something new over here to replace it. But now while I was talking about that, I'm thinking, okay, I got the toolbox. Maybe I should use the toolbox for the stuff that I've got here. Okay, because it will all fit. I've got drawers that are shallow. And the good part would be that they're in drawers that are closed so they'll stay free of dust. Unlike this, I have to blow this off every once in a while to get the dust off. So yeah, this will be tentatively, okay, nothing's written in stone, this will be my new drill press cabinet, this toolbox. I forgot about this, actually. This needs to go somewhere as well. I made this to fit in that double-sided cabinet in the front. And it has all my tiny screws in there. It's quite heavy. And the back is open, so the drawers want to fall out. I think that'll fit on that bench that I want to build over here. So it'll go here except turned around. Okay, so that's the shop tour for April 2021. And I think I showed everything. Well, if I didn't, you know, you've seen it before. And I hope I filled in enough details on this. It was actually my intention to do a website article on this, but I didn't actually take enough photos, especially when I was building the enclosure. And then really I was thinking, this is so simple. Like there's nothing to it. It's just panels on the end. They're screwed to the wall on the top or across. And then this track couldn't be any simpler. It's just a piece of plywood on the outside and a strip of wood on the inside. Has a little bit of slack for the door. You don't want that tight. You want the door to be able to slide back and forth freely. And then the wheels on the bottom of the door. Just really simple to do. Really simple to get done, especially when you don't want to spend time filming it.
I want the only daughter I've got left. As you found out, Evelyn was lost to me a long time ago.
Who do you blame for that, her?
I don't blame myself. See, Mr. Gitz, most people never have to face the fact that at the right time and the right place, they're capable of anything.